The unknown signal. The galaxy was quiet that night. Stars burned far away, ships moved on their usual paths, and the Galactic Council chambers were almost empty. Only a few diplomats and officers worked late, watching the deep space sensors. Most nights, the screens showed nothing but static, comets, or trade ships moving between systems. But tonight, something strange happened. It began with a single pulse. A sharp, rhythmic beat came through the scanners. Slow at first, then steady, like the heart of something alive. The junior officer on duty frowned and tapped the screen. At first, he thought it was a glitch. The pattern wasn't like any communication code in the database. It wasn't a distress signal. It wasn't even alien music. Then the pulse grew stronger. One of the senior technicians leaned over his shoulder, his face pale. "That's not a star. That's a ship." The room fell silent. More screens lit up, showing readings from other stations. The object was moving. Fast. Too fast. It was coming in from the edge of known space, crossing regions that took most fleets weeks to travel, in hours. The Council's comms chief quickly ran the data through every recognition file they had. Nothing matched. No known species had that drive signature. No government, no private company, no hidden empire. "What speed are we talking about?" one of the council members asked, her voice tight. The technician hesitated. "Hyperspeed, but stable. They're not burning out their engines. Whoever they are, they're in complete control." On the main screen, a blurry image began to form. At first, it looked like a shadow against the stars. A long, angular shape, black as space itself. The hull was built for war, not trade. The lines were sharp, the armor thick, and on one side, something strange was painted. A round blue emblem with a white star at its center, surrounded by smaller stars. The officers didn't recognize it, but somewhere deep in the Council's archives, an old historian would have gasped, because it was the emblem of Earth. The object drew closer, and the image sharpened. It wasn't just a ship. It was enormous, longer than the largest carrier in the Council fleet, armed with weapons that glinted like silver teeth in the dark. The atmosphere in the chamber grew heavy. Even the sound of breathing seemed too loud. One of the ambassadors whispered, "Why is it not answering our hails?" They had sent over 50 messages in every major language. Nothing. The ship moved on, silent, unstoppable. A decision was made to send a scout. A fast interceptor launched from a nearby station, its engines flaring blue as it raced toward the black warship. Everyone in the chamber watched the feed from the scout's cockpit, the dark shape filling more and more of the screen, details appearing. Gun batteries, shield nodes, strange markings along the hull in a language no one recognized. Then the scout pilot's voice crackled through the speakers. "I'm close enough for a visual. This thing, it's old. Very old, but still perfect. No rust, no damage. I've never seen anything like..." The voice cut off. On the screen, the warship's side lit up with hundreds of tiny white lights. The image froze, distorted, then went black. The council chamber was dead silent. Someone whispered, "Did they fire?" The technician shook his head slowly. "No, they didn't fire. They just turned off our feed." Suddenly, every comm screen in the chamber flickered to life. The same image appeared, a dark control room lit only by faint red lines, and then a voice, deep, calm, human. "This is the United Earth Defense Fleet. Stand by." Gasps filled the room. Many council members had never even heard the name Earth. Some thought it was a myth, a forgotten homeworld of an extinct race. But the older ones, they remembered the stories, the ones they weren't supposed to repeat. Stories about a time when humans fought a war the rest of the galaxy couldn't win. Stories about a fleet that vanished after the final battle, promising they would only return if the galaxy was in danger again. And now, here they were. The warship slowed as it approached the center of council space. It did not lower its weapons. It did not explain why it was here. It only waited, its black hull swallowing the light around it. Every government sent frantic messages to its leaders. Military fleets were put on alert. Civilians were told to stay calm, though panic was already spreading through the news channels. The Council's highest-ranking commander, a tall insectoid named Vexarn, stepped forward and activated the main comlink. His voice was firm, but the tips of his claws trembled. "United Earth Defense Fleet," he said slowly. "You have entered Council space without clearance. Identify your purpose here." The reply came after a long pause. "We will speak when the time is right. Until then, silence." The transmission ended. The warship's lights dimmed, and it simply drifted, watching, waiting. In the chamber, fear grew heavier than the air, because everyone could feel it, whatever reason the humans had for coming back. It was not small. The warship speaks. The warship hung in the void like a shadow that had learned how to breathe. It did not move toward any planet. It did not scan or fire. It simply waited, as if time meant nothing to it. Around it, the Council's fleets kept their distance. Dozens of battleships and cruisers forming a ring of steel. Their weapons were charged, but every captain felt the same quiet warning in their bones. Do not make the first move. Inside the Council chamber, arguments raged. Some leaders demanded the humans be forced to leave immediately. Others whispered that angering them could doom the entire galaxy. The oldest members, ones who had heard the hidden stories about humanity, said nothing, their faces pale, their eyes fixed on the image of the warship on the main screen. The ship had been silent for almost 3 hours when something unexpected happened. A small burst of energy pulsed from the human vessel, directed not toward the Council fleet, but toward a forgotten mining colony in neutral space. The colony was tiny, half-abandoned, home to only a few hundred workers. No one could understand why the humans would ignore the galaxy's most powerful governments and speak to a place like that. The message was encrypted in a way no alien system could break. The Council scrambled to intercept, but all they got was static. Minutes later, a reply came from the colony, a short, simple signal, only one word: welcome. The Council chamber fell into stunned silence. Why would the humans bypass the greatest powers in the galaxy just to speak to a poor mining colony? Who was on that colony that deserved their attention? Ships were sent to investigate, but before they could reach it, the warship moved. It glided forward slowly, its engines making no visible flare, as if the laws of physics bent around it. Every Council ship in its path reported the same thing. Their targeting systems failed. Weapons froze. Shields flickered. For the first time, alien captains realized the human ship could destroy them all before they could even raise a defense. In one control room, an alien admiral slammed his claws against the console. "They are controlling our systems. That is impossible." But it was not impossible. Not for them. The warship moved like a predator that knew no one could stop it, and still, it did not fire. News channels across the galaxy began to spin wild theories. Some claimed the humans were here to take revenge for an ancient betrayal. Others said they had returned to reclaim their old empire. A few even whispered the humans were not alive at all, but ghosts inside a ship that had never truly died. And then, finally, the warship spoke. Not to the Council, not to the galaxy's governments, but to every civilian channel in range. Its deep voice rolled through speakers in every home, every ship, every station. To those who remember, the time has come. To those who do not, you will learn. The words sent chills through billions. Who were they talking to? What was coming? The Council demanded answers, but the humans ignored them completely. Instead, the warship began transmitting strange bursts of data into deep space, to places where no planets or stations existed. When the Council tried to trace them, they realized the coordinates pointed to systems so far away they weren't even on official maps. An uneasy pattern began to form. Every one of those uncharted systems had been the site of battles. Battles from the ancient war the galaxy had erased from history. In one dark corner of the Council chamber, a historian whispered to herself, "They're waking something up." The forgotten pact, the words "Phase 1 has begun," echoed through the council chamber long after the transmission ended. No one wanted to admit it, but most of the leaders had no idea what it meant. Only a handful of the oldest members whose families had served in the wars of the past recognized the phrase, and that recognition filled them with dread. In a quiet, dim archive beneath the council hall, 3 historians worked frantically. They searched through locked records that had not been touched for centuries. Each file they opened was buried under layers of security codes, protections put in place not to keep enemies out, but to keep the galaxy from remembering. At last, one of them, an elderly Saren named Kovar, found it. A dusty, unmarked file. Inside was a single document written in the languages of 12 long-dead civilizations. Across the top, in ancient standard, were the words, "The Pact of Resolute," Kovar read aloud, his voice shaking. The document told a story the galaxy had tried to erase, the story of how humanity once stood at the heart of the Council, not as newcomers, but as its strongest protector. 3 centuries ago, a threat had come from beyond known space, not alien in the usual sense, but something from outside reality itself. Beings of shifting matter and hunger, who consumed stars and stripped worlds bare. The Council's fleets were powerless. Entire sectors fell in weeks. Then the humans arrived. No one knew how they built ships so powerful or weapons that could tear the invaders apart, but they fought like a species with nothing left to lose. Their flagship was the Resolute, commanded by a man named Captain Elias Kane. The war lasted 10 years. In the final battle, humanity drove the enemy into a collapsing rift at the edge of the galaxy. And then, they left. All of them. The entire fleet vanished into deep space, taking their weapons and their knowledge with them. Before they departed, Kane made the pact. If the galaxy faces extinction again, we will return. But when we come back, we will decide who survives. Kovar's voice trembled on the last line. Everyone in the room now understood. If the Resolute was here, the threat from beyond was returning, and the humans had not come as equals, but as judges. Meanwhile, out in the void, the Resolute continued sending bursts of data to unknown points in space. Surveillance drones tried to follow, but human encryption locked them out before they could record anything useful. The warship's hull shimmered faintly now, as if energy was flowing beneath its armor. On a border station 2 systems away, a young communication officer intercepted a short, strange message. It was in human language, one no living alien could speak, but translation AI gave it a chilling clarity. We begin where we ended. The Council called. An emergency session. Some argued for uniting the fleets and attacking the warship before it could act. Others insisted humanity was their only hope of survival. The debate grew heated, voices rising, until suddenly, every light in the chamber flickered and died. The massive central display lit up on its own, showing a dark figure, a man with gray hair, sharp eyes, and a uniform from another age. His voice was calm, almost tired. "This is Captain Elias Kane of the Resolute. Your records speak truth, but not all of it. The enemy you forgot is awake again, and they are already here." Gasps spread through the hall. Kane leaned closer to the camera. "You have 1 cycle to decide where you stand. After that, you will be part of the war, whether you wish it or not." The image faded to black. The first display of power, the thing in the dark, was getting closer. From the outer rim observatories, the reports came in one after another, fleets vanishing without distress calls, entire moons stripped to bare rock, and stars dimming as if something had drunk their light. The readings were strange, almost alive, and worse. They moved in a way no machine should. The Council wanted proof before acting, but the humans did not wait. The Resolute turned without warning, breaking away from the fleets that had been shadowing it, and set a direct course for the Kylath sector, one of the few regions that had openly mocked the idea of danger. Kylath's rulers believed the humans were only using fear to seize power. To prove their point, the Kylath Empire sent 30 of their fastest warships to intercept the Resolute. They broadcast a message to the entire sector, their leader standing in golden armor, smiling as if this were a parade. To the so-called United Earth Defense Fleet, turn back or be destroyed. This is your first and final warning. The human warship didn't even reply. It simply kept moving. The Kylath fleet spread out, surrounding it from all sides. Thousands of targeting systems locked on, weapons charging. On the councils, private channels, nervous voices argued. Should they intervene or let the confrontation happen? Then, something impossible occurred. Every single Kylath ship froze. Not stopped by weapons, not hit by any visible force, just frozen. Their engines hummed but would not move them. Their weapons powered down without command. The crews screamed through comms that their systems no longer obeyed them. Inside the Resolute, no weapons had been fired, no shields raised, yet every enemy ship was now a drifting, helpless hulk. From the council chamber, Admiral Vexarn whispered the truth no one wanted to hear. They've taken control of the ships, every circuit, every command chain, as if they own them. 1 minute passed, then 2. The Kylath crews were sure they were about to be destroyed, but the humans did something stranger. They gave it all back. Engines restarted, weapons came online, and control was restored. A single human voice spoke over the comms. Go home. The Kylath ships didn't argue. They turned and left at full speed. But the demonstration was not over. The Resolute broadcast a map to every government. A map of where the real enemy was. Moving shadows across 10 sectors. Locations marked in red. And next to those marks, small countdown timers. The shortest timer read 48 hours. Panic spread instantly. In the council chamber, leaders shouted over each other. Some wanted to send every fleet to those points. Others accused the humans of staging the entire thing to gain control of the galaxy's armies. But those arguments stopped when the deep space sensors lit up with readings, massive, unknown energy signatures matching the shadows on the map. Kane's voice returned, colder than before. Now you've seen what we can do to your fleets. Imagine what we can do to them. If you want to live, follow our lead. The true enemy. The countdown hit 0 on the FI. First red mark. Every ship, station, and sensor in range watched the same impossible scene. A star, bright and steady for billions of years, began to flicker. Its light pulsed, faded, and then vanished completely. No explosion, no supernova, just gone, as if someone had stolen the fire from it. Then they saw what had done it. From the darkness moved shapes too big for the mind to accept. They were not ships. They were not alive in the way most life was. They were both massive biomechanical leviathans, their bodies plated in living metal, their movements smooth like predators swimming through water. Great spines of black alloy curved along their backs, drawing in the light around them and feeding it into glowing red cores buried deep inside their chests. Where they passed, space itself seemed to bend. Stars dimmed, asteroid fields crumbled into dust, and the cold they left behind was the kind that could kill a world in hours. The council had no name for them, but the humans did. They called them Eaters. The Resolute broke formation and moved straight toward the largest of the Eaters. Alien fleets scrambled to follow, their captains unsure whether to attack or watch. On the open comms, Kane's voice came clear. You wanted proof. Here it is. And now you'll understand. We didn't come here for you. The alien fleets opened fire first, beams and missiles streaking toward the colossal creature. Not one shot made it through. The Eater's hide shimmered, bending energy away, letting it vanish into the dark like drops into the ocean. Moments later, it answered. A single pulse of red light that cut through 4 battleships like paper, their hulls splitting silently in the void. The panic was instant. Fleets turned to flee, but the humans stayed. The Resolute's forward hull opened like a blade unsheathing, revealing a weapon the galaxy had never seen. A long silver spear, humming wit, with power. Its tip glowed white-hot, but the glow didn't spread. It seemed contained, compressed into something sharper than light. The humans called it the silent spear. Kane's voice was quiet but carried an edge of finality. If we use this, there's no turning back. The rip it makes won't just take them. It will take anything caught in its path. The council hesitated, but the eater didn't. It turned toward the nearest inhabited system, a system with 4 thriving colonies. And Kane fired. A single white beam lanced out, thin as a thread, but space around it cracked like glass. The beam passed cleanly through the eater, and for a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the creature's body folded inward, pulled by something invisible, and vanished into a silent tear in space. The colonies were safe, for now. But the weapon had left its mark. A jagged wound still hung where the eater had been, shimmering faintly. Scientists warned it might grow. The humans didn't answer. Instead, Kane sent one last message before cutting the channel. That was one. There are hundreds. The final stand. The wound in space was still open when the next shadow appeared. At first, the sensors could not measure it. It was too large, too far, and yet too fast. When the image finally resolved, the council fleets went silent. Even the Resolute seemed small compared to what they saw. It was a living fortress, an eater so massive that its body was shaped like a moon. Layers of black alloy plates overlapped like armor, glowing with rivers of molten red. Entire asteroid belts swirled in its gravitational pull, grinding into dust as it moved. And inside its outer shell, hundreds of smaller eaters swam like hunting beasts in a nest. It was not just a weapon, it was a hive. The council knew no fleet could face it alone. Kane knew it too. That's why for the first time in centuries, humans penned their battle network to alien ships. One by one, vessels from across the galaxy linked into the human command grid, the feeds filled with voices from dozens of species, all waiting for orders. Kane's voice cut through the static. We fight together, we win together, or there is no galaxy left to save. The enemy fortress opened fire first. A massive red beam carved through the darkness, vaporizing 3 cruisers instantly. Dozens of eaters broke away from its hull, diving toward the fleets. The battle became chaos. On one flank, insectoid warships formed tight diamond formations, firing concentrated bursts to draw eaters away from the weaker craft. On another, aquatic species launched living torpedoes bred to pierce organic armor. In the center, the Resolute charged directly toward the fortress, its weapons firing in constant, blinding arcs. Even so, the cost was high. A council destroyer exploded in a flare of blue, taking hundreds of lives. The human support ship Vigilant was torn apart by an eater's claws, but its last act was to ram the creature, breaking its spine before both drifted into the rift. Inside the Resolute, Kane watched the fortress grow larger on the view screen. Prepare the silent spear, he ordered. The weapon charged, white light building at its tip, but this time the eater hive adapted. It released a wave of red energy that slammed into the human ship, shattering shields and throwing crew to the floor. The silent spear's charge faltered. We can't fire from here, the weapons officer shouted. Kane's jaw tightened. Then we fire from inside. Gasps filled the bridge, but no one argued. The Resolute's engines roared, pushing it into the hive's outer shell. The ship smashed through layer after layer, tearing into the fortress's living corridors while eaters clawed at its sides. Human and alien boarding teams fought side by side, blasting through organic tendrils and molten metal passageways to reach the fortress's core. When they arrived, the silent spear's tip was almost touching the red heart of the creature. Kane's voice was steady. All ships, fall back, now! Outside, the alien fleets pulled away, dragging wounded vessels with them. The Eater Hive, sensing the danger, twisted and tried to close its armor plates. But it was too late. The silent spear fired. The core imploded, sucking the fortress and every Eater inside into a collapsing rift. The explosion lit up the sector like a newborn star. But when the light faded, the Resolute was gone. The legacy of silence. For 3 days, the galaxy searched. Rescue fleets combed the shattered battlefield, scanning every debris field, every drifting fragment of metal. They found pieces of destroyed alien ships, broken eater spines and frozen remains of the smaller creatures, but no sign of the Resolute. No human bodies, no human signal. Many believed the humans were gone forever, lost in the same rift they had created. In the council chamber, leaders made speeches about sacrifice and unity. Monuments were planned. A silver memorial was commissioned to stand at the center of the great star map hall, its shape a perfect replica of the Resolute silhouette. But not everyone was ready to accept the ending. On a quiet mining colony, the same one the humans had contacted first, a child woke in the night to the sound of a strange pulse coming from the old comm tower. She followed it, bare feet silent on the cold metal floor, and found the screens flickering. The signal was weak, broken, but the pattern was the same as the one that had been heard when the humans first returned. She called for her father, who worked maintenance on the tower. When he boosted the signal, a grainy image appeared. It showed a dark control room lit only by red emergency lights. In the center stood Captain Elias Kane. His face was bruised, his uniform scorched, but his eyes were steady. To all who hear this, the galaxy is safe for now, but the Eaters were only the first wave. Others will come, and when they do, humanity will be watching. His voice grew softer. Remember this, when we return, it will not be to speak first, but you will know us by the silence we leave behind. The image cut out, leaving only the steady pulse. Within hours, the signal spread across hidden channels in dozens of systems. Smugglers heard it in deep space outposts. Merchant crews whispered about it in docking bays. Even in the halls of the council, some members claimed they could still hear it. A heartbeat in the static. The memorial was built, and life slowly returned to normal. Trade routes reopened, borders were restored, and news channels began to speak less about the humans and more about the usual politics. But in the dark corners of the galaxy, the story stayed alive. Pilots swore they had seen a massive black shape passing through uncharted space. Miners reported strange pulses from beyond the rim. A few even claimed to have spoken with human voices in the static of dead channels. And somewhere, in a place no map could mark, a single warship drifted silently between the stars, its hull black as the void, its emblem of Earth still bright against the darkness. It did not send messages, it did not answer hails, it simply watched. Because the galaxy had forgotten one truth, and the humans had not.